For the Life of Laetitia by Merle Hodge, Chapter 2. I had never seen much of my father before this. We spotted him now and then on our trips into Alberta, and if he saw me, he would call me over and begin to fish in his pockets until he found a dollar bill. He would press the money into my hand and say, "Go and buy snow cone." Sometimes Uncle Leroy got a few days' road work in Junction, and if my father passed that way and saw him, he might give Uncle Leroy $5 for me. One Christmas time, he sent a present, a doll in a white and gold dress, and my mother said it must be the Christmas rum in his head. Ma, my grandmother, did not have a very high opinion of him. Whenever we met him in town, she would grumble all the way back home on the bus, every now and then stopping to suck her teeth loudly. Anyhow, the less said about that man, the better. But before a few minutes had passed, she would begin to grumble again about how he had no conscience and how he would meet his judgment day. She complained that now he was a big supervisor, driving motor car and all, and still wouldn't help his child in a decent and proper manner. Snow cone, she said. The child could live on snow cone? And then again, she would stop and chide herself. Look, Wilhelmina Johnson, hush your old mouth. Less said, the better. Leave him to God. He will meet his judgment. So help me, he will meet it. You can imagine, then, that when my father appeared in front of our house that day, for the first time in many years, my grandmother did not greet him warmly to begin with. He arrived with the back seat of his car full of parcels, which turned out to be presents for me, to reward me for having passed my exam. At first, he just sat out in the car, not knowing what to do, for Ma was standing in the doorway, her 2 hands on her hips, regarding him with a face of stone. He grinned nervously and waved a limp hand. "Good afternoon, Ma Willie." Ma sent Carlyle to invite him in. The other children were only waiting for her to move from the doorway in order to run down the path and swarm all over the car. And quite a storm we were, for it was August vacation, and in addition to the children who lived here all the time, Ruth, Anne, Kenwin, Carlyle, and myself, we had Uncle Leroy's daughter, Charlene, one of Ma's godchildren, Carlyle's little brother, and 2 of Uncle James's children who had refused to go back to Petit Fort with their parents on Sunday. But Ma knew what was in their minds. "All of you, find yourself in the backyard," she snapped. "Lacey, you come inside." So the 3 of us sat in the drawing room. Pappy and Uncle Leroy were down in the cocoa. My father said he wanted me to come and stay with him and his family in La Puerta, now that I would be going to school there. He'd been walking around with the newspaper in his pocket. He had opened a bottle of whiskey for the fellows on the job. He had shown the big boss my name in the paper and told him that I was his daughter, and the big boss had congratulated him. My father could hardly contain himself. "Ma Willie," he said, "let me do my duty as a father." Ma gave a dry laugh that stayed in her throat. But she knew, as I did, that going to live in the town would make life a lot easier for me. La Puerta meant nearly 2 miles on foot to begin with, and then about 4 miles to Laetitia Junction by bus or taxi, and the long bus ride to La Puerta. It would mean leaving home at some ungodly hour in the morning and getting back only just before dark. Also, nobody had as yet counted up what it would cost in fares. Uncle Leroy said that I could get a student's bus pass to ride free on the bus, but the buses along this part of the main road were not very regular. So on mornings, I would very likely have to take a taxi to Junction, and we didn't have money to pay taxi fare every day of the week. Ma questioned my father closely. What did his wife think of my coming to live there? Did he intend to buy my books and uniform? Would he see to it that I didn't run wild in the town and get myself into trouble like so many of these high school girls nowadays? My father nodded vigorously to everything. Yes, Ma Willie, of course, Ma Willie. When the interrogation was over, she still didn't give him much of an answer. She told him that we would have to write to my mother first, and I would have to ask my grandfather and my uncles. He left, looking a little downcast. Ma told him that Uncle Leroy would bring a message to him at his workplace.